Apple doesn't change its behavior unless something is bothering it. And right now, the calmest company in tech is making unusually defensive moves, not loud ones, not desperate ones. The quiet kind powerful companies make when they feel the ground shifting, because when a $1 trillion brand starts tweaking its identity, not just its features, that's not innovation, that's positioning. And positioning only matters when someone else is getting too close. This isn't Apple suddenly getting bold. It's Apple getting slightly nervous, in the calm, polished, we totally meant to do that way only Apple can pull off. Because when the most patient company in tech starts redesigning its signature features and flirting with categories it ignored for years, that's not random creativity. That's a chess move, and chess moves only happen when there's an opponent across the board. If you look at the iPhone 18 rumors like a fan, you see upgrades. If you look at them like a strategist, you see reactions. And reactions are always more honest than keynotes. What's revealing isn't what Apple is adding, it's what Apple is quietly admitting. Take the dynamic island getting narrower. On paper, that sounds like progress. Sleeker, less intrusive, more futuristic, but psychologically it's interesting. The dynamic island was Apple's way of turning a hardware compromise into a personality. It was like saying, this isn't a flaw, it's a feature, and it has animations, which, to be fair, was genius branding. Now shrinking it signals something else. It says Apple still wants the dream of a truly uninterrupted display. It says the island was never the destination. It was a well-decorated stopgap. And maybe, just maybe, Samsung's near bezel-less flexes and Android brands hiding cameras under displays are living rent-free in Cupertino's head. The funny part is most users stopped emotionally noticing the dynamic island after a week. It became part of the wallpaper of life. Tech Twitter treats it like a philosophical debate. Regular people treat it like weather, it exists, and then you move on. So this redesign isn't solving a user crisis, it's solving a comparison chart problem. It's Apple making sure screenshots look competitive. Then there's the thicker body and bigger battery, and this one is almost comedic when you zoom out. For a decade, thinness was marketed like a virtue. Phones got slimmer like they were training for a fashion show. Now the industry is slowly admitting what normal humans always knew. Nobody brags about thinness at 3 p.m. when their phone is at 12%. A thicker iPhone is Apple quietly choosing practicality over ideology. They won't say that out loud, of course. They'll say all-day battery life with cinematic music. But this feels like a soft correction, especially in a world where AI features are about to snack on battery life like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. Tech enthusiasts will celebrate efficiency metrics and nanometer improvements. The silent majority will just think, nice, it lasts longer. And honestly, that's the real win. Not glamorous, not viral, just useful, which is exactly what sells phones even if it doesn't trend. Now the A20 chip. Every year, chips get faster, and every year people use them to watch videos and send voice notes that say, call me instead of just calling. So raw power alone isn't the story. Headroom is. Apple builds for 3 years from now, not just today. That's their pattern. But there's also a subtle rivalry layer here. Google is loudly branding itself as the AI company. Samsung is sprinkling AI on everything like seasoning. Apple hates fighting loud battles it can't fully control. So instead, they build quiet capability into the silicon. Infrastructure first, narrative later. It's like the student who studies quietly all semester, while others brag about pulling all-nighters. You don't hear much until the grades come out. If you've watched Apple long enough, this behavior is familiar. They don't rush to be first. They rush to be undeniable. And then we get to the most psychologically revealing rumor, the iPhone Fold. Apple entering foldables now isn't bravery, it's timing. Samsung spent years being the experimental lab, taking durability jokes, crease memes, and early adopter risk. Apple watched from the sidelines like a parent letting another kid test the playground first. Now, if they enter, it's reportedly with premium materials, a fancy hinge, and a price tag that screams, "This is not for everyone, and we like it that way." That's not mass market ambition, that's halo product energy. That's Apple saying, "We can do this too, and we just don't need to prove it loudly." And the rumored lack of a telephoto lens is fascinating. Apple, the company that turned camera comparisons into a sport, suddenly dialing that back on a foldable suggests the fold isn't about camera dominance. It's about category presence, just showing up to the party so nobody says you skipped it. Meanwhile, foldables are still a tiny slice of the market. Most people don't wake up wishing their phone could fold. They want good battery, a solid camera, and a device that doesn't stress them out. The silent majority wants reliability, not origami. But from a strategy lens, the fold makes sense. It tells investors Apple isn't behind. It tells competitors Apple can enter any lane. It's the corporate version of casually mentioning you could run a marathon even if you never plan to. Zoom out, and the bigger psychology appears. Apple, Samsung, and Google aren't just selling phones anymore, they're selling identities. Apple sells control, polish, and the feeling that everything just works. Samsung sells ambition, speed, and the thrill of trying everything. Google sells intelligence, AI magic, and sometimes a mild identity crisis about what it wants to be known for. So every move isn't just a feature decision, it's a personality decision, a message, a signal. And while tech communities debate refresh rates and hinge mechanics like it's a sport, most buyers are optimizing for comfort and familiarity. They want their next phone to feel like their current one, just better. Not revolutionary, not philosophical, just dependable. That's why the loudest debates often matter least to sales. This matters deeply to reviewers and almost not at all to millions of buyers. The real competition happens in perception, not specs. So, when you look at the iPhone 18 rumors, the better questions aren't what's new, but why now and in response to who? Because in a mature market, timing reveals more than technology. Innovation is incremental, differentiation is psychological, and AI is the new marketing battlefield. Everyone is trying to look ahead without looking worried. Here's the part nobody likes admitting. The smartphone war isn't about who builds the best phone anymore. It's about who controls the narrative of the future. AI, foldables, and design tweaks are signals, not revolutions. The real battle is psychological, who looks ahead without looking worried. And if you've watched this industry long enough, you know something interesting. The company acting the calmest is often calculating the hardest behind the scenes, because mature markets don't reward boldness, they reward timing. So maybe the story isn't that Apple is innovating, maybe it's that the space around them is finally forcing them to respond. And in tech, the first company to look reactive usually loses the perception game. The funny part is most people will just buy the phone that feels familiar and works, which means while companies fight for the future, the silent majority quietly decides the winner. And they're not watching keynotes, they're living their lives. See you next one. Peace out.